term precariat refers to a group of or class of people whose jobs and income are insecure. Experts say that group is growing in South Africa. Let's find out now how business leaders are dealing with the rise of the precariat class in the country. Henley Business School's Dean and Director John Foster Pedley joins us in studio to discuss this. Lovely to have you with us, John.
Right.
This group called the Precariat, just describe exactly from their point of view, exactly what life is like floating from one job to another.
It's a class that's emerging, and it's a class without hope. They don't have the typical rights we would expect. Civil rights, political rights sometimes are less economic rights. So you don't have secure employment. There's nowhere to fall back on. And so most of the things that you and I perhaps would take for granted in our lives are absent. And this is a class of people growing. It's quite a complex set of three divisions within that class, but it's something that explains the rise of Trump. It explains what happened with Brexit. And in fact, the man who popularized this, a professor called Guy Standing at the School of Oriental and African Studies in London, was talking in 2013 about the possible rise of right-wing movements which would overturn big economies like the USA. And he was proved right. It's a pity nobody listened to him.
You know, it's an interesting thing that we have a parallel in this country as well, with lots of disillusioned people and a high unemployment rate. Why is this group sometimes referred to as dangerous?
Well, let me just step back a brief moment. If you think of the structure of society these days, we have the plutocracy, a very small number of super rich people, often criminal, I have to say that. And then you have the salariat, the people who are perhaps like you and I, who are working for salaries. And then instead of the proletariat, you've got these precariat. And the forces of international trade and globalization, international agreements, have changed the structures of economies in developing countries so that the many traditional jobs have been undermined, replaced by immigrants, etc. And after that, you've got a mass of people who've lost their job security. So why this is dangerous in this country is because you've got mining, taking away jobs. You've got Uber taking away taxi drivers' jobs. You've got a raft of domestic workers, a massive unemployment, people without rights, to whom nobody is giving them an option, and who are completely open to right-wing, quasi-fascist rhetoric or extreme leftism. So the center ground has fallen apart, and the center ground needs to re-emerge. And the heart of that is young people, because it's the older people like me who are rebellious in our youth. We don't want to become, saying that the young people are utopian. In fact, they're not. The young people see a different future, and it's up to us to create a social and political movement that will enlist them and co-opt these fairly idealistic views of life to build a better life.
Let me ask you about two recent examples. We've seen the pick and pay protests in which people were worried they'd be replaced by robots. The second one, of course, was the coal forums go slow in Pretoria, where they're worried about clean energy and how that's going to impact on the coal industry, which employs them. It suggests technological advancements are taking place, but workers are not adapting or being adapted for those purposes.
They're not being given a chance. It's true that we need technological advancements, and Pick and Pay would do what any rational company might do and create automated tills. We might stop shipping coal around in replacement of, because we have clean energy, but then people lose jobs. So what's happening is people are being left aside by the forces of globalization, and no alternatives are being given to them. What people want, they want access really to the redneck kind of workers. They're losing everything. The immigrants, who are a massive part of this precariat, are not politically active. But the young people who are making choices to be part of this precariat because they want control of their time, they want to be part of the gig economy, so they're having a series of gigs instead of a career, and they want also control of the commons, of the collective spaces, whether it be land or the oceans. They've got ideas that these collective spaces mustn't be destroyed. And the thing they all need is access to learning. So whether it's the redneck precariat or the more intellectual young precariat, they all need access to learning, and so they can develop new skills. What's not being given to them are any skills. False political hope, common is being provided, common enemies are being paraded in front of them as if they were the problem, and they're not. The problem is just the natural forces of the world and a lack of replacement of education for these people who are talented, skilled, capable, but not being given that chance. So our political and our business leaders need to take a different turn and enlist across the board of support to really drive skills development across these countries, which is the only way we can really replace the loss of jobs. We have to except if you give them a common income, a sort of basic income, which is another possibility that's been floated in countries like Finland.
So I'm out of time now,
Yeah,
John,
sure.
but I must just ask you one quick question from a practical point of view. You're saying that people can be transitioned
Yes.
to be taught different sets of
Certainly.
skills, but can also adapt themselves to different types of work?
They can. You have to be able to adapt. You have to be willing to. But what's not being given to people is the hope or the leadership to do that. Things have been taken away from people, their job, their security, but no real replacement is being offered to them apart from right-wing rhetoric. The only solution is for people to stand up and take the skills they need, and for us to be extremely proactive in providing skills and learning so that they get alternative possibilities in this new world that's emerging.
Very interesting indeed, and some helpful suggestions there, John. Thank you so much for coming in to
much.
speak to us. Henley Business School's Dean and Director John Foster Pedley. Your weather is up next.